Okay, I think we're live. Let me get some of this technology sorted before I start. Okay. Okay, let's get started. All right, this is my second live stream. First one had no format at all. I just reacted to a bunch of conservatives on Twitter and almost wanted to blow my brains out from putting myself through that hell. So here we go again. This time I have a little more of a format to this chaos. I promise. Okay. So how this live stream is going to go, and I think how some of the future live streams are going to be, I'm going to have a bit of a format. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the past week's biggest news, some of the major things that happened over the last week. And then the next section will be what you guys should look forward to, like some news events that you should look forward to, look ahead at over the next week or so. The third section will be me kind of reacting to arguments online or in different spaces related to policy, politics, news. That might be a cesspool. That might just be, you might lose some brain cells in that section of this stream. The last section will be responding to people's comments or questions, and you're going to want to stick around for this one. It's my first time doing it, so I have a lot of things to respond to. I'll just say this. I just had a video posted the other day that got over almost 500 comments, and they are so hilarious. I'm going to respond to only some of the ones that I think warrant a response. The others are just arguments ad hominem, so like they're just personal attacks. I don't really care. I care about the substance of policy more than anything else. So we're going to do that. Stick around at the end for that. That's going to be fun. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about some of the biggest news of the past week. I started this live stream pretty late, so I want to kind of roll through these pretty quickly. All right. Let's see. I'm learning this technology as I go along, so. Oh, it worked. Hell yeah. Okay. The first thing, as we all know, the government is shut down right now. There's a partial funding lapse going on. I made a couple of videos talking about the shutdown, but essentially Congress, more specifically the Senate, hasn't passed the appropriations or the CR bill for the fiscal year 2026. So the federal government is in a partial shutdown, which means there's a funding lapse for the next couple of months or until they get this CR passed. I made a video talking about how this is like a Republican issue because the Democrats' hands are being forced to vote on the CR, which cuts healthcare for millions of people. And I made an argument that talked about why this should be blamed by the Republicans. And I'll get to that more later. But I do want to dive in a little more deeper to what is happening here, deeper than I was able to get in my video. Essentially, what's happening is the U.S. government is weaponizing this shutdown. They're weaponizing food stamps, the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. They're weaponizing, the USDA is. Here's what they're doing. So the federal government is making states stop funding of food stamps for the month of November, even though they have an emergency pool of money that they could pull from to fund it over the next month, but they're choosing not to do so. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, issued a memo stating that it will not use its $5 billion contingency fund to cover November SNAP benefits because the appropriation for regular benefits no longer exists. So essentially, the USDA is saying, hey, remember that Trump handpicked the leader of the USDA, the White House, the Trump administration controls the USDA. And they're basically saying, hey, if the Democrats are not going to vote to pass the CR, which is true, the Democrats are not willing to vote on a funding package that cuts healthcare for millions of people, and for other millions will raise their premiums for the government healthcare marketplace programs, which I could get out on a rabbit trail there. But essentially, the government is saying, or the USDA is saying, hey, if the Democrats are not going to vote to pass this, we are going to tell the states to cut off food stamps for the month of November. Now, keep in mind that there is a funding lapse, like that's part of the government shutdown. But there is, like I just mentioned, a contingency fund of $5 billion. $5 billion sitting in an account somewhere that is supposed to be used for times like this, a contingency fund for when the government shuts down. And the USDA, led by the Trump administration, is not going to use that money. So for the entire month of November, millions of Americans, there's 42 million Americans who use SNAP benefits, which is food stamps. 42 million Americans are going to have an interesting month of November. I'll just say that. People, I've said this before, and I'm a social worker. I work in the social work field. I work in the inner city working with families and individuals who are going through various socioeconomic barriers. And what I do is I help connect them to resources. So I help them with applying for housing, whether it's Section 8. I help them apply for food stamps sometimes. I help them get transportation resources, food resource, housing, everything. And essentially, half of my clients are going to have a hell of a time trying to get food in November because a lot of them are using food stamps because some of them have disabilities, some of them are low income, some of them can only work part-time because of some barrier that they have. And so I'm being affected personally because I care about my clients, of course. But 42 million Americans nationwide are going to be impacted by this funding freeze for food stamps. And I talk about in my video, you can go check it out if you like. I dive a little bit deeper into that. But it's going to be extremely devastating for not just personally for people, but for the economy as a whole. It's just going to, I hope that we can avoid this. And there are things we can do to avoid this. For instance, the USDA reaching into the contingency fund to help to make sure 42 million Americans get food. That's something they can do. Okay, so the next point I wanted to make on this is multiple congressional Democrats, more than 200 Democrats in the House, are urging the USDA to tap into this reserve. So Democratic politicians, as weak and spineless and horrible as most of them are, they're actually trying to keep the USDA accountable here. And all of their efforts have not paid off. Nothing has changed. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about this. This is just disturbing. It's disgusting. They're using food stamps, the SNAP program, as a political tool, as a pawn to try to get what they want from on a partisan level. It shouldn't be happening, and it makes me sad that, like, I see this every day. I see people struggle. There's a common misconception that people are mooching off of food stamps, and I'm sure there are examples, but it's a common misconception that it's widespread. all of my clients, if they work, some of them, if they work full time, they don't even qualify for food stamps. Like some of the clients I'm speaking of make $15 or $14 an hour and more. So at least here in Michigan, if you make $14 an hour or more and you work full time, you don't qualify for food stamps. So 14 an hour and over, if you work full time hours, which for some companies is 38 hours, but my company is 40. If you make 14 an hour or more, you don't qualify for food stamps. So what does this mean? Anyone who's making less than $14 an hour, which is much, much below a livable wage, these are the people who are getting food stamps. You can make 14 an hour or more and get food stamps, but you have to be someone who is working part-time, right? And you have to prove that you can't work full-time. That's the thing. It's not like there's these millions of people that are just mooching off of food stamps for the hell of it. These are not like I said, I'm a social worker. I work to help people apply for these benefits. I know firsthand that at least 99% of the people who are applying for food stamps can't work full time because of a disability or whatever it is, or they make less than $14 an hour, which is so much below a livable wage. So food stamps are a supplement, given the name SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This is supplemental, but it's urgent and it's necessary because the minimum wage is $7.25, which is half of what these people are making at my organization. And even then, or even those people need food stamp help because even 14 is so far laughably below a livable wage that $7.25 doesn't even compute in my mind how that could be realistic for someone to live off of. But the next point I wanted to make was that the federal government is using the social support, the social safety net, as a bargaining chip. They're using it as a bargaining chip in a budget fight. It's like these millionaires, and for these, especially in Congress, these multimillionaires are playing with people's lives because they don't experience firsthand what it's like to make $13 an hour, work full time, and still cannot afford food. That doesn't compute in their mind because their salary is what, $175K. They're making a couple other $100K per year on book deals or selling books, on speaking engagements, insider trading. These are multimillionaires for a reason. They just don't understand what it's like to live off of making extremely low wages that are so laughably below the livable wage mark. But okay, that's kind of the update on that story. So the government's still shut down. The federal government is using the USDA in the SNAP program specifically as a pawn, as a bargaining tool, and they're playing with people's lives to try to get the Democrats to vote for the CR. And there's a lot more context and a lot more things in between that I could talk about. But this live stream would be 4 hours long, and I just encourage anyone watching this or anyone who looks back at this just to go do some research for yourself and to get more of the details. Okay, second story of the day, or I guess of the week, is New York City mayoral race is heating up with about a week to go until Election Day. I don't know if you can see this on the screen there. Yeah, you can. Okay. Well, I don't know if y'all have been watching the debates, but those have been pretty interesting. You got Curtis Lewa in the middle, the Republican candidate. And then you have Zoran Mamdani, the Democratic Socialist, who is the Democratic candidate. And then Andrew Cuomo, who is running independent, I believe. He lost to Zoran in the Democratic primary. Can't handle that the New York people didn't want him. So he's running as an independent. And yeah, so this is going to be a closer race than people think. That might be a hot take. Zoran is leading in the polls by substantial margins. I hope Zoran wins. I think he's the best of the three candidates. But we'll see. I think Sliwa might come in second. All the Republicans are going to vote for. Well, actually, now that I think of it, the Republicans actually might vote for Cuomo because Cuomo has the second best chance to win. I guess it depends on how the Republicans are going to vote. Are they really going to vote for the Republican? Are they going to vote with someone who represents their values? Or are the Republicans in New York City going to vote just to make sure Zoran doesn't win, which would be a vote for Cuomo? So are the centrist establishment liberals in New York City who are on Cuomo's camp, are they going to somehow collaborate with the Republicans? It wouldn't be super far-fetched to say that because Andrew Cuomo has already talked to Donald Trump and tried to get his help in winning this election. So who knows, maybe there's a connection there with that. But this is I'm going to try to live stream this. I know it's going to be a Tuesday, so it's going to be hard. I work 2 jobs. But I'm going to try to live stream the election, at least like later in the evening when results are starting to come in. This is going to be super interesting. Like I said, Zoran is predicted to win by large margins, but given how many tens of millions of dollars have been put into this election against Zoran, billionaires have been funding Andrew Cuomo and Sliwa's campaigns, and millions of dollars have gone into anti-Zoran campaign endeavors, ads and whatnot. So it might be closer than we think. We shall see. Okay, the third story, and this one impacts people that I know pretty closely. Let's see who we got. Okay, so the third story of the week, and this has been going on for a little while, but just wanted to talk about it for a couple minutes. Trump is slapping American farmers in the face. Just point blank, slap Chris Rock right in his face. The cost of beef, the cost of like cows' beef, has been rising sharply over the past few months. Beef farmers, and specifically like locally owned farms or family farms that grow beef, grow cows for beef, are getting screwed by tariffs. They're getting screwed by Trump's backstabbing of that industry. Let me explain in a little bit more detail. So U.S. beef, this is why U.S. beef production and supply is under some strain, which is causing it. And I'll also explain why tariffs are impacting this. So these are some points I wrote down. U.S. cattle is at its smallest size in decades, like the number of cattle. That's one thing to remember. The second point, tariffs and cost of living. So costs are rising for feed for the cows. Land is getting more expensive. Drought conditions are a factor, and these are impacting the ranchers, the farmers, and increasing the pressure on supply. That's another thing to take into consideration. Another thing is Trump. I made a video about this a while back. Trump made a 50% tariff on Brazilian beef a while back, on beef from Brazil. Okay. So U.S. beef imports are down from some countries like Brazil and other countries that Trump slapped a tariff on for no reason. This is constraining supply of lean beef imports, like for ground beef. That's a very popular beef that is imported, ground beef. So analysts are saying that, or I guess I should back up a bit. Because of this strain on the supply and farmers, the beef growing industry is just struggling right now. This is what Trump decided he wants to do. Trump is going to pay Argentina. Let me get the right number on this. I don't want to lie to you guys. I had this number memorized. I forgot it already. Or beef. Okay. Okay. Trump to quadruple Argentine beef imports while U.S. farmers fume. I want to get the right. Okay. Farmers are angered by Trump's $20 billion currency swap with Argentina while they lost out on South American nation. They lost out to the South American nation on soybean sales to China. Okay. So the Trump administration is making a $20 billion deal with the nation of Argentina, whose president, Donald Trump, is very, very close with and admires very much, Javier Milei, who's also an authoritarian, but that could be another video. The Trump administration is paying Argentina $20 billion, which is a shit ton of money, for beef, to import beef, while the industry here in America is struggling mightily. That $20 billion that, I'm trying to get these ads off the screen. I don't want to give them any energy. Okay. That $20 billion that Trump is giving to Argentina could be used to give subsidies to our farmers, to help out our farmers in America. I have a friend whose family grows beef, or grows cows, I should say. They're beef farmers. Sorry if I don't have the correct term there. They sell beef because they raise cows. How about that? They're struggling. I see them post often about how just the industry sucks right now. Like drought. There was a huge drought in West Michigan. And that's where I'm located. And that impacted farming. They also, they keep posting about how the cost of product, feed, the cost of anything that they need to use to sustain their farm, like the prices keep on increasing and the tariffs are not helping. So this is like a perfect example of why Donald Trump is just backstabbing American farmers. That $20 billion could be used anywhere. It could be used, like I said, to go right to our farmers. It could be used as, that could be used as checks that could go out to the American people, like we got during COVID, to help Americans with the everyday cost of living. But no, that's going to go to Argentina, to Trump's buddy, the president there, to help out their economy, because their economy is not doing that great either right now. So $20 billion to import beef. This is embarrassing. Anyone who believed that Trump was America first, like across the board, I'm sure there's some instances where he's like absolutely America first. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But when you translate what he really means is America only, right? Like America first, in my eyes, means making sure that our people here they have food, they have housing, they have healthcare. And then once we are sustained, which we have plenty of money for, then we can go out into the rest of the world and help where is needed. And because we are the richest country in the history of this world, we can do both. We can give our people healthcare, we can give our people housing and food, and make sure there's no more homeless people, make sure there's no more people going bankrupt for healthcare, for health bills. We can do that. And once we're done making sure that that's implemented, we can help out other countries as well. Well, I lost track of what I was going to say about that point. But let me go back to the main point here is US beef imports are down. This is my second ever live stream, forgive me. US beef imports are down from many countries. And I also didn't want this stream to go too long, so I need to get through this. US imports are down on beef, and Trump's giving Argentina $20 billion because their economy is hurting. And that's backstabbing the farmers here who are struggling, like my friend who lives nearby and his family's beef farm. So but I think the point I was trying to make was anyone who says that Trump is America first when he really means America only is sorely mistaken. Yeah, so this is a pretty big story. This is also something in the next section that you should look ahead to. The next section of this live stream is just me talking about what to look ahead to, like what stories we should look ahead and expect to see over the next week or so. And that's definitely something to see if the administration actually follows through on giving Argentina all this money that they could be used, like that could be used here to spend it on our farmers and help them out, these people who are struggling, these Americans. But I digress on those tangents, and let's move on. Okay. This section is I want to talk about some stories that we can expect to hear about over the next week. The Federal Reserve, did I get a thing set up for this? No, I didn't. Okay. So the Federal Reserve is expected to make a key interest rate decision in the coming week. And this decision could signal a major cut to interest rates. So that's a pretty big deal for corporations, for anyone who's got federal loans. So that's something you should look ahead to, is what the Federal Reserve does in whether they make a decision on an interest rate cut or not. This has so many economic impacts on various people. It impacts working people. It impacts corporations. It impacts everyone. So definitely keep an eye on that over the next week or two. If you are watching this, or if you watch back on it. Another story that we should look ahead to is Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping of China are meeting this coming week. It's Sunday right now, so this week. They're meeting to talk about tariffs. They're meeting to talk about supply chains and much more. That's something that we should definitely keep our eyes on, because Trump, since he was on the campaign trail in 2015, the first time, he's expressed this weird love-hate relationship with China. He admires the authoritarianism of the Chinese government. He admires Xi Jinping for being a sort of dictator of sorts. He admires China for their power and for their control over their people, but he doesn't admire them for the fact that, he might respect them for this though, for the fact that they have a stranglehold on the American imports sector of our economy. So Trump is going to try to make a deal to make sure that they do what he wants, so that he doesn't have to slap more tariffs on them. We'll see. He might bend the knee again. We'll see. But that's the second story that you guys should look ahead to, is Trump and President Xi Jinping of China are going to be meeting sometime this week. So keep an eye on that. The final point I wanted to make, the final story to look ahead to over the next week, is this is the final full week before Election Day on November 4. So Election Day is Tuesday, November 4. Well, just over a week from today. And I would urge you, please register to vote. If there's an election near you, please register to vote. Please, please, please. I'm not asking you to vote on any statewide legislative elections. I'm not asking you to vote on if there's any federal, like any nationwide elections. Please, please vote in your local elections. Please. If I say please again, I'm going to have to. Anyway, yes, so November 4 is election day. Some states you can vote early, some states you can vote by mail. Please get out there. And if you don't know who is running in your local election, just do a little Google search, like November 4 election, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then that's where I'm at. So then it'll pull up all the local elections for whatever precinct you're in, whatever, or it'll give you where you can vote at your local precinct, and it'll also tell you which region you're in and which elections are in that region, whether it's citywide, whether it's countywide, district-wide, whatever it is. So please do that. Please go vote. I can't stress that enough, at least at the local level. I understand if you are desensitized and you are off-put by statewide and federal politics. I get it. Please vote local, though. Please. Okay. So those are the three things to look ahead to. The Federal Reserve is making a giant decision on interest rate cuts. Trump is meeting with President Xi Jinping, which could impact tariffs further, and it could further impact the cost of living. Tariffs have. I made a video about coffee prices that have gone up like 100%, or No, gone up about 80%, I believe, if my memory strikes, if my memory serves me correctly. But coffee prices have gone up, sorry, substantially over the past 9 or 10 months since Trump took over because of the across the board tariffs on Brazilian imports and specifically Brazilian coffee. So tariffs have really impacted our economy. So him meeting with Xi Jinping, it could mean a lot of things. So keep an eye on that. And then the third thing to look out for is, like I said, this is the final full week before election day. Go register to vote. Find out where your voting location is for your precinct. At least vote local. I understand if you don't want to vote statewide or federal, but please vote on November 4th. Okay. So section 3 of this live stream will be reacting to right-wing Twitter arguments. Okay. I did this on my last stream. I put myself through hell on my last live stream just reacting to Twitter because my Twitter is full of, it's like 80%, right nowadays it's like 80% not politics and 20% actual politics, and I only follow political accounts except for a couple sports accounts, but I never see those posts anyway. That the Twitter algorithm is something spooky because, like I said, I follow, and I'm on, let me show you. So on Twitter, you can click on, you can click on the feed from the accounts you follow, or you can click on for you, right? If you click on the accounts that you follow, of course you're gonna see those, but even the for you, I still don't see much politics, even though my algorithm should be mostly politics by now. Had it for years. But I wanted to show you something real quick. See if I can find it. I didn't lose it. Okay, so I'm gonna react. I'm gonna try to react to some right-wing Twitter arguments, and we'll just go from there. Okay, this is the first one, and this one, I should say I'm disappointed, but I'm not. So The Hill reported that SNAP funding expiration set to hit 40 million people. I just talked about this for 10 minutes earlier in the stream, and I made a whole video about it. The government shutdown is happening, and to my knowledge, that's not directly impacting the November pausing of food stamps, but the USDA, the government, entity, is pausing food stamps. It has directed states to pause food stamps, and that's going to impact over 40 million people. I think it's 42 million people in this country use food stamps. Most are working. Most at least have a part-time job, and this is going to impact our economy. It's going to have a devastating impact on our economy, and even worse, it's going to have a devastating impact on people individually and families. So The Hill reported on this, and this is what the right-wing guy said. He said, "We should only help people who can't help themselves. It's outrageous 40 million people get food stamps." I'll pause there. It's outrageous people are being fed, and that we're making sure people are being fed. That's his gripe. Get off your fat ghetto asses. I don't know if that's a race thing, because ghetto, in white circles, when you say ghetto, you're referring to poor black people, really. That's kind of what that means. Get off your fat ghetto asses. Get a job. Stop reproducing. Okay. Come on now. Change your shitty culture. Okay, so now this is a white dude, apparently, and he's saying that these minorities, they're fat, they're ghetto, they don't have jobs, they need to stop reproducing. Change your shitty culture. Stop giving food stamps to immigrants. If we don't want you here if you won't work. The absurdity of this is mind-boggling. Here's why. What is the food stamp recipients by race in USA? 37% white, 26% African American, 16% Hispanic, 4% Asian, 1% Native American. So this guy pretty sure it's one of those bot accounts. Like it's just like he's it's just it's not a real man named Mike Davis. There's no way. Followed by Stephen Miller, though. You can't see that on the screen, but Stephen Miller follows this guy. He says that minorities, because he's talking about their shitty culture and immigrants here. He's saying minorities have a shitty culture. They need to stop reproducing. They need to get a job. They're fat and ghetto. When mostly white people receive food stamps. This is just embarrassing. This is, I mean, white people in the American South receive food stamps at a much higher rate than any minority in the major cities in democratic states. West Virginia, oh my God, West Virginia. So many people get food stamps there, and they're mostly Trump supporters. They're mostly conservative. So saying that, I don't know. I feel like this might be a rage bait. I feel like this might be a fake account. But the fact that Stephen Miller follows it, I feel like it might be a real person. So, and that's even more devastating. So that's not a good start. I was going to go through Twitter here and just try to unpack some of these arguments. But this isn't even an argument. This is just a guy saying minorities need to stop reproducing. They have a shitty culture. They're ghetto. And yeah, we'll move on. Not a good start, I'll be honest. Okay. We'll do one more. I didn't realize I'm 40 minutes in to this live stream. We'll do one more. I'll bookmark this for the next live stream. Okay. All right. The Hill again. Snap funding expiration set to hit 40 million people. 40 effing million people all eating, none of them paying for it. Absolute insanity. You know what's absolute insanity? That other developed nations have the money, have the empathy to make sure that their citizens and even non-citizens are being fed. I said this in a past video. Food and water I'll lump that together. It's things that we need to consume to live. That's like my worst enemy, whoever that is or whatever that is. I would want to make sure that I want to make sure they're fed and that they have water. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's on a biological level, that is the most basic thing you need to live. And because you physically need it, like biologically need it to live, that should be the baseline, the bare minimum that any government supports give to the people. Making sure that every single person, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of immigration status, regardless of physical ability, regardless of political affiliation, everyone should be fed. Everyone should. If I disagree with you on politics, I still want you to have healthcare. I still want you to have food. I could disagree with you on socialism, or I'm a socialist, but we could disagree on that, on whether that's good, but I still want you to have healthcare. I still want you to not be being screwed by the billionaires who are widening the wealth and income inequality gap. I still want you to have food and water, even if you can't pay for it. So this account saying none of them paying for it is insane. That's insane to me. It doesn't register how a biological need, which is like oxygen. Okay, so we need food, water, oxygen, and the mixture of chemicals in this air that we have. We need that. You don't even need a house. Like, if you live in the extreme cold or the extreme heat, then you need to stay warm or you need to stay cool. But it doesn't logically follow that a house is necessary. You can stay warm or stay cool in other ways than just having a home to live in. So from a biological standpoint, you don't need a house, but you do need to not freeze to death or have a heat stroke. So you need oxygen, you need water and food, and you need, I'll put housing in there, because in the 21st century, especially in the type of economy we have, that you need to have jobs. Um, having a kid is nearly impossible if you don't have, a home or a place to structure your lives around. Housing, food, water, oxygen, and I'll put healthcare in there as well. Healthcare is also a human right. Those things I just listed should be free at the point of service for every single person in this country, regardless of immigration status, regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of all of that. That is a policy of empathy. That's a politics of empathy. Making sure that everyone has the basic necessities: food, water, oxygen, housing, healthcare. Is there one more? There may have been one more. And if you want to call me woke for saying that all people should have food and water, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of anything, then you might want to just rethink that morality that you think you have. You might want to rethink that that opinion, because there are people going hungry in this country. I know a lot of people say that we are the fattest country. That might be true. We are the fattest. We are absolutely the fattest developed nation on this planet, no doubt. Although there are parts of the UK. I think the UK has like the fattest city, like the city limits with the actual fattest people. But America broadly, yes, we're all obese. We all have diabetes. But there are families who go hungry at night. There are individuals, and I'm not talking homeless people. There are people who go hungry. It happens. Because their food stamps got cut or it ran out. They lost their job. It's right now in this job economy, it's hard to find a good paying job right now. That's why so many people are clinging on to their jobs. I also made another video about that, about why people are latching on to their jobs for their life right now. So this argument is just absurd, and it's sad that people have this mindset. I wish everyone would be like, yeah, healthcare, food, housing. Yeah, everyone gets that. What are you talking about? I wish that was like the mindset we all had. But like I would be glad to pay a little more in taxes to pay for healthcare. But that's not what we're asking. Healthcare for all, universal healthcare, is paid by billionaires and the top 1%, so multimillionaires through billionaires, paying their fair share in taxes. And also taking away some from the Department of Defense, or I guess the Department of War is what it's called now. The Department of Defense, I'm going to keep calling it that because Department of War is just stupid. The Department of Defense is on track to receive $1 trillion for the first time, the largest budget for the Defense Department ever. And 60% of that funding, reports show, 60% of defense funding goes unaccounted for. We don't know where it went. Now, you can only assume it went to some shady operations overseas. Of course, it's fair to assume that. But we can take a couple $100 billion of that and feed our people. We can take money that's going to subsidizing corporations, bailing them out when they don't need to be bailed out. We can take some of that money. So really, we don't even need to raise taxes on the top 1%. We just need to stop funding forever wars overseas. And we need to take away some of that $1 trillion of defense funding, of defense spending. Just a couple percent of that would feed everyone in America. Like, do you understand that? Okay, so I'm at 45 minutes. This is way longer than I wanted to get to, or this is way longer than I wanted to do because I have one more thing to get to. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the final thing in this stream I wanted to do was respond to some viewers' questions. Now look, there were some good questions commented over the past few weeks in various videos. However, this is the first time, I don't know why I said this time. This is the first time doing this. Okay. I want to devote this to calling out something that is absolutely disgusting. If you're watching this, or if you watch this back later on, this is really important. Conservatives for a long time, now stick with me here. Conservatives for a long time have been saying that the left wing, is full of people who commit sin, who are sexual deviants, people who are obsessed with trans stuff, people who are obsessed with adultery, child predators, etc. Right wingers have been saying this for a long time. But it turns out, unfortunately, those people were just projecting their own thoughts onto us. I had a video get nearly 500 comments. Most really, are from conservatives, but not just conservatives. These are MAGA cult members, like clearly in the cult. I'm going to show you some of these comments, and just a fair warning here. They're very vulgar and they're very disgusting, but this has to be called out. I vowed to never moderate comments on my account. I will never delete comments unless there's like, I don't know, unless someone's threatening my life, then maybe I'll report it or delete it or something. I don't know. But I vowed to never moderate or never put any hold on comments on my YouTube channel. But I'm about to show you some of these comments that I got on a recent video, and let me know what you think. Let me know if you think if it's the left wing who is obsessed with identity politics and sexual deviancy, or if it's the right wing. So let me know if it's the left wing or the right wing who's obsessed with that stuff. Let's fair warning, this is really graphic. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay, technology. There we go. Okay. First one. This leftist dumb bitch, LOL. He was giving Biden a hand job during his meetings between naps. Okay. Okay. Well, this guy said I was giving Biden a hand job. First of all, okay, I'll show you some of the replies that I sent to these people. Some of them I didn't respond to because it was just outrageous. But this guy said I was giving Biden a hand job. Why is that on your mind? Like, really, why is that on your mind when you go to comment on something? That is just weird. Okay, so that's one comment I got. Now this next one, I don't know what kind of person does this, but this is the comment I got. Oh, Jesus Christ. Justin McMaster, me, probably still breastfeeds off his nasty, sloppy mother's tits. Oh my God. And this is from a female, presumably. Sophie Mendez is the name. Okay, I will be honest. I did laugh really, really hard when I read this, and I still laugh. It's hilarious. But who thinks like that? Who thinks, like, I talk about politics, I talk about the news, I talk about policy and what's going on in the world. And if you disagree with my politics, I really do want to have a discussion. I do. But when someone comments, when someone comments this, I don't understand like what they're responding to. Like, okay, I think they're referring, maybe they're calling me a soy boy. Maybe they're saying I'm gay. I get a lot of gay comments, which I don't really care. But this comment just doesn't. What is going on in your mind when you are commenting on a political video, right? Like this person presumably disagrees with my politics, and that's fine. But why is this on your mind when you're in the political sphere here? Like you're on a political YouTube channel, and this is on your mind. That's just something to keep in mind. The next, and she commented again, like this lady commented like a minute later, and she said, "Trending left me from my channel is a bitch whose dad left for milk and never came back." That's funny, but also, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind if people don't start commenting policy stuff. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy this. I think it's funny. Um, but at the end of the day, I want you guys to comment policy. That would be nice too. Occasionally. You know what I mean? Next comment. Are you gay and when did you come out of the closet? Well, look at your profile picture. It's a freaking pug, man. Philip, 1979. So, Philip, you are almost 50 years old. You have a pug, which is a notorious gay couple dog. Pugs are notorious for being the dog of gay couples. And you're almost 50, and you're asking if I'm gay and when I came out of the closet. Philip, when did you know you were gay? Because it takes one to ask one. Did I just come out? No. My point is, why are you interested if I'm gay? Why are you interested when I came out of the closet? Oh, Philip, let's talk about that. Let's have a conversation. Okay. Next comment. You ever think about lifting weights? Yes, I do. That's a great question. This is the first question of my channel that I'm responding to in a video. Oh my God, it's Philip. I just realized it's Philip again with another question. This is so funny. Philip is okay. Okay, so Philip asks, here you go, Philip. Do you ever think about lifting weights? Yes, and I actually just posted a video a little bit ago. It's a day in the life of me, and I have a few videos at the gym where I'm lifting weights. So yes, I do think about it. So you don't look like a pussy? I don't understand that question. You all look the same, weak. You even sound weak. Okay. Next comment. Okay, now we're gonna get into some just really like identity politics centered comments, which is really rich coming from the wing of the American political spectrum that says that the left weaponizes identity politics. Dude has a woman's job. Of course, he's a soy boy liberal. So, hold on. Is this a guy or a girl who's. Hold on one second. Chris. Okay. Chris says that I have a woman's job and I'm a soy boy liberal. Okay. So, woman's job. I'm an inner city social worker. I got a degree in that field from university, and I work professionally helping families and individuals overcome socioeconomic barriers, housing, food, transportation, everything. I help people navigate a broken system. And he says that's a woman's job. All right. That's fine. We'll move on. Oh my God. Okay. Liquid transfer pump. Is that your pet name for your boyfriend? All right. So I have a video, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. I did a day in the life of me video. And like I said, it's me at the gym lifting some weights. It's me cooking some food. It's me changing the oil in my car. So after I changed the oil in my car, I had to use this liquid transfer pump, which takes the oil from the oil pan, transfers it back into the container, the oil container, because I don't have very steady hands. I would spill the oil. Most people, when they change their oil, they take the pan, they pour it back into the container, they put the cap on the container, and they go recycle it at like AutoZone or something. I was gifted this pump, and I use it because I am not very coordinated, and I don't have the materials to clean up huge spills right now. So I mentioned that I use this liquid transfer pump in the video, and the guy said, "Is that your pet name for your boyfriend?" Again, actually really funny. But why is that on your mind? Why is liquid transfer pump on your mind in relation to a gay relationship? Mr. Clarinet, the jokes write themselves. Okay, moving on. Just a few more left. Oh my God. This one. This one's disgusting. Okay. The dog knows what's coming next. Okay. So here's the video. Here's the video I made of a day in the life. This is what happens in the video. This is important, apparently. I'll rewind it a bit. Okay, so I was meal prepping, cooking dinner, and here's me with my dog. Okay, spending time with my dog, and that's the whole clip of the dog. And this guy says, "The dog knows what's coming next." Michael McGrath, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? Given on this video and a couple of the recent videos I posted, given the really weird, sexual, nasty comments that I've gotten, I can only assume that he's talking about me doing something to that dog, and that is absolutely insane that you would comment that. Like, why is that on your mind, Michael? I just actually forget it. I don't even want to know why. Next comment. No hot girl would fuck you, bitch boy. Again, why is sex, like just weird sex comments, always on the minds of these conservatives who are commenting on my videos? I don't mind being called these names or whatever. They're funny. Really funny, actually. Like I'm laughing with you because it's funny. But like, why is sex always on the mind of these people who are commenting? And these are clearly conservatives, because I think that comment was from a video where like the 400 MAGA people commented and just were saying outrageous arguments ad hominem, attacking me personally and not the actual issue that I was addressing in the video. But again, I don't understand. I don't understand why sex and trans people and all of these weird things are on the minds of conservatives when they go to comment on my videos. Like, is it projection? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're always talking about some weird sexual shit. Is it projection? I don't know. I really don't know. I just need it needs to stop though, because I really want people to comment policy questions. I really want people to comment, if you disagree with me, at least be cordial and be like, hey, you're wrong about this because of XYZ. Not no hot girl would fuck you, bitch boy. Like, that's not an argument. It is funny though. I will keep laughing, even though I don't like it. I will keep laughing. Okay. One of the last ones here. Okay, someone said, change your content, think for yourself, and the girl you're trying to convince you're not gay penguin is not going to fuck you because you support her right to murder her own children. And then he commented, I think like 10 minutes later, and said, oh, it's the same thing actually. Sorry. Change your content to think for yourself, and the girl you're trying to convince you're not a gay penguin is not going to fuck you. Okay. I responded, why is sex and murder constantly on the minds of conservatives when they comment on my videos? This is what he said in response to that. See if I can pull it up here. She's not gonna bang you, bro. She's just gonna bang all your friends, fella. Hope you have a good day watching them bang. And then I responded again. I said again, do you only comment weird sexually depraved projections? I'm trying to do a politics channel here, and people are sitting here saying, the girl you're trying to convince you're not a gay penguin is not going to fuck you? Am I using the wrong hashtags on my videos? Like, how does the algorithm, the spooky algorithm, find these people? And to my point, why is sex and murder constantly on conservatives' minds when they go to comment on my videos? I hope this is a question I get answered someday. I really hope so. Okay, is this my last? Oh, a couple more. Someone commented, Democrat males are attracted to women. Mostly, I would say. Democrat males think trans women are women. Yeah. This means Democrat males are sexually attracted to males. I could pick that apart logically, like that those points don't follow. But again, I commented or I responded, why is sex and trans people constantly on the minds of conservatives when they go to comment on videos? Again, I don't understand. Okay. Here's the last one. I saved the worst one for last, okay? I saved the last comment for the worst one for last. This is what someone commented on my channel. And just letting you know, this video that they commented on was about politics. Policy. This is what someone said. Jesus. I'm going to go out on a limb and say your interactions with your uncle probably happened in a closet. Hence the reason you're a jaded lefty now. Let me read that again. I'm going to go out on a limb and say your interactions with your uncle probably happened in a closet. Hence the reason you're a jaded lefty. This video that he commented on was, it's me arguing with an alternate MAGA version of myself about the pro-life argument. Here's my response, first of all. I said, do you often joke about sexual assault or just when you're trying to sound funny online? I feel like that's a valid response. I feel like, again, like I'm just dumbfounded. I have no words. I don't know how the algorithm finds these people who are joking about a uncle molesting me in a closet. And that's why I'm left wing. I don't understand why people can't comment like and respond to arguments. You know what I mean? But that's the end of this live stream. This actually went a half an hour longer than I expected and that I wanted, but that's okay. Thank you guys for watching. If anyone looks back and watches this, just know that I don't have any like inherent animosity toward right wingers. Like that's a little silly to have like an automatic response that's negative toward people individually, like as people. But I will say I am getting pretty jaded. I am getting pretty radicalized by just this political discourse that we're in. I don't mind people commenting and threatening me or calling me slurs, but people commenting weird sexual things, that's just like, ooh, I lose faith in society, man. Like people joking about me like doing weird shit like sexual things with my uncle or with dogs. It's just like, are you projecting? You know what I mean? But last thing I'll mention, I do want to live stream every Sunday. I don't want to do this again. I don't plan to respond to all this weird shit that people comment. But I do want to respond to real comments. And there are real comments that I didn't get to. People who either asked a question or made a really good point. In that video that like 500 people commented on, that I posted earlier last week, like I said, most of them were like this. But some of them were good, and I just didn't have the time to respond to those. And going forward, every Sunday, I want to do a section at the end where I respond to these people who have good faith arguments, even if they disagree. Like if you're watching this and you disagree with my politics, if you're watching this and you are conservative, right wing, you know, anywhere that's not left wing, I want you to comment and push me, pick my brain. And if I think it's a good faith question, I'm going to respond. So thanks for watching. Yeah, I will do this. I'll try to do this every Sunday. I'm going to try to live stream for the election. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but all right. Have a good night, everyone. And we'll see you at the next live stream. Actually, let me keep this going. I need to figure out how to do I need to figure out how to stop this correctly. Okay.